Andrew McCabe, he accuses Rod Rosenstein of providing false testimony.
McCabe, you know, has a lot of internal fortitude making the statement, of all people, that Rosenstein provided false testimony, considering what he did in his role in the entire investigation and the entire matter. So the rats are turning on each other right now as I see it.
One step down from Rod Rosenstein, if you're looking at the flow chart, it was intentional. I mean, Andy, to me, that's where you see Andy McCabe with knee-jerk reactions to this testimony when, honestly, there's so many things going on in the country, it's not even getting the same kind of attention. But by him stepping in and accusing Rosenstein of lying, of perjuring himself, of misleading the committee, of making false testimonies, false statements, that is a serious allegation.
You're making an allegation of perjury before the Congress of the United States, before the United States Senate, and you're saying that he gave false testimony to someone with whom you worked and to whom you were responsible under the chain of command. These are serious allegations that could result in someone being prosecuted.
This McCabe allegation came out while Rosenstein was still under oath, still testifying to the committee. Lindsey Graham reads Andrew McCabe's statement, has Rosenstein respond. Take a listen.
This comes from Mr. McCabe. Mr. Rosenstein's claims to have been misled by me or anyone from the FBI regarding our concerns about President Trump and the Trump campaign's interactions with Russia are completely false. Mr. Rosenstein approved of and suggested ways to enhance our investigation of the president. Further, I personally briefed Mr. Rosenstein on Jim Comey's memos describing his interactions with the president mere days after Mr. Rosenstein wrote the memo firing Jim Comey. Mr. Rosenstein's testimony is completely at odds with the factual record. It looks to be yet another sad attempt by the president and his men to rewrite the history of their actions in 2017. They have found in Mr. Rosenstein, then and now, a willing accessory in that effort.
I spoke with my team, not Mr. McCabe. I didn't rely on Mr. McCabe. I spoke with my team about the actions that I was taking to make sure that they were appropriate. I did not say that Mr. McCabe misled me. Those were not my words. I think he's responding to somebody's question. What I said was he did not reveal the Comey memos to me for a week. And that is true.
The really remarkable thing about the exchange between Rod Rosenstein and Andy McCabe to me was not so much the accusation of lying. Yes, that's a very serious allegation. But Andy McCabe's own defense, Jordan, it was in itself an admission. I mean, here were the words. Mr. Rosenstein approved of and suggested ways to enhance what? Our investigation of the president. Next line. Further, I personally briefed Mr. Rosenstein on Jim Comey's memos. Jordan, let me translate for the listeners. That translation is, I did it, but we were all doing it, including Rod. Rod was doing it with us. We were all doing it.
This is what started. This is why Andrew McCabe responded, which was interesting because it puts him right back in the middle of it. Take a listen.
Do you think McCabe knew that?
I hope not, Senator. I do not personally know.
Was he in charge of the investigation?
Yes, he was.
Did he ever lie to you?
Mr. McCabe, I don't believe, Senator, that there are any occasions in which I identify that he lied to me.
Okay. Did he ever say anything, looking back, that is perplexing to you?
Well, that's a very broad question, Senator. I had a lot of conversations.
Do you think he was truthful to you?
Well, I believed, Senator, that Mr. McCabe was not fully candid with me. He certainly wasn't forthcoming.
Okay. So then Andrew McCabe responds back in a written statement. And Andy, we talked about the false part. Now let's get to another term, which he accuses Rod Rosenstein of being some accessory as well. These are very legal law enforcement type terms, obviously.
This is the troubling statement, troubling on the part, if I was Rosenstein or anybody looking at this, they have found, this is McCabe talking, in Mr. Rosenstein then and now a willing accessory in that effort. Do you know what an accessory is? An accessory is a term we use in the criminal law to mean an aider and abettor.
What about that pause?
Oh, the pause.
I mean, it was like...
I mean, if you were in court
really,
and you
he
heard...
was carefully thinking what he was trying to say.
Yeah, he said, did he lie to you? And then we wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then he comes up with, well, I'm not going to say that he lied to me. He said he was not, I wrote it down, not fully candid and not forthcoming. Well, let me tell you, don't play mince words and bandy terms like that around. He lied to you is what he did. And then you're trying to say that he was not fully candid and forthcoming. Then McCabe comes back the next hour or that afternoon and says, well, I'll tell you what he did, Rosenstein. He provided false testimony. So where Rosenstein was wishy-washy, McCabe, of all people, the liar, says that Rosenstein provided false testimony.